Hey there, I'm Cynthia Top, and I am about to do a meditation with you all, a meditation to experience ourselves as pure energy. But give me just a minute, bear with me here. I want to also share it at the same time in another spot here. So give me a minute while this comes up and I can share it. Okay, 1 second here. Oops. And then we'll get started. So always just takes me a minute here while you all are talking quietly among yourselves. I am sharing it. Okay. Success. So, come back to that screen and I will get started. I'm actually going to turn that off. Sorry. Okay. Technical stuff is all in order. So, hi there. I'm Cynthia Top. I am a certified life coach, helping people create their magical lives. And I am also the host of the Facebook group, How to Create a Magical Life, which is a group where you can be empowered to create all that you long for and desire in your life. So if you're not part of that group yet, I have put the link in the post description. So hop on over and join me. The conversation is great there. Okay. So, welcome and thank you so much for joining me. I really love doing these live streams. I haven't done one, gosh, it's been a while now. I have actually been going through a pretty challenging time with my own process of creating my magical life, but I'm ready to leap back in with a bunch of good stuff that I've learned from the challenges. So I'm excited. And I am getting ready to offer my free webinar again on accessing the theta brainwave state in meditation to enable us to create our magical lives. So that webinar is going to be on August 8th, but I'm doing this little series of kind of preparatory live streams, sort of things leading up to the webinar before that. So what I want to do today is take you on this meditation that will help you get in touch with the fact that everything is energy, so that you can learn to work with that energy to create what you long for. So I called this meditation to experience ourselves as pure energy. So for those of us who believe in possibility of manifesting, attracting, creating what we desire, creating our own reality, it's so freaking frustrating when it doesn't work, when we can't do it. When you think about it, what percentage of the time do you actually create what you long for when you put forth the effort to do it? You try and you try and you try to think rich thoughts and you're still struggling for money, or to think skinny thoughts, or you imagine that soulmate in like really vivid detail, but nothing happens. And yet sometimes then you suddenly manifest some really great thing and you're like, wow, this does work. What's the deal here? It doesn't work sometimes and then sometimes it does. And it's so frustrating. Can you relate? I have learned so much over the years about actually creating the magical life I want, filled with so much goodness. And I want to share some of the ins and outs of that with you because you can do it too. There are reasons that these things happen or don't happen. And there are ways to make it easier. And there are ways we can work with the energy that is what we're made of. So I want you to walk away from this live stream today, or if you're watching it as a video afterwards, having had a taste of the reality that we are pure energy. Having had an actual experience of that. And then along with that taste, you might just receive an infusion of hope that, from me, that yes, it is possible to create the lives that we long for. And we are these amazing, empowered beings that can create our own reality. And I want to help you do it. So like I said before, if you're not yet a part of my Facebook group, the link to it is in the post description there. Join the group. The conversation is really good. It's super helpful, encouraging each other in this thing of creating our magical lives. Okay, so as we dive into doing this meditation, first of all, we're going to be using our imaginations. And I want you to imagine for a minute how much empty space each of us is actually made of, and how little of what we call matter we actually are. So think of it this way. We all know we're made of molecules. Everything's made of molecules, and we know that those molecules are made of atoms. And we know vaguely, unless you're a total geek like me that reads quantum physics stuff all the time, we know vaguely that an atom has a nucleus, and then it has these electrons in orbit zipping around it. And we know sort of vaguely that that nucleus is kind of the solid part of the atom, and even that's an illusion. But for the sake of us trying to bridge the gap between what we experience as like everyday reality, solid, okay, my fingers feel solid, they're matter, so we can say, all right, so the nucleus is sort of the solid part of the atom, then with these particles zipping around the outside of it. Here's the thing. If the nucleus of an atom was the size of a marble, and it was lying on the 50-yard line of a football stadium, a full-sized football stadium for a professional football team, like think big, there's this little marble lying right in the middle of the 50-yard line. That's the nucleus of the atom. The electrons would be zipping around it in an orbit that would be beyond the uppermost seats of that stadium. That's how much space we're made up of. That's how huge the void is inside of everything that we see as solid. That's the proportions. It's this tiny marble inside this huge football stadium. So we're made up of energy and emptiness, energy and void. And in this meditation, I want you to actually experience the reality of that. And then here's another crazy thought to throw in the mix before we start the meditation. People like the teacher Deepak Chopra and others have done a lot of exploring of this idea that that energy that holds everything together is consciousness. That consciousness is not just this thing that we generate with our brains, but that energy that holds us all together is consciousness itself. You can call it God, you can call it the divine, but somehow that energy that holds us together is conscious. That's a crazy thought. I love it though. So as energy, we are somehow part of this consciousness. And I want you to get a taste of that as well in this meditation. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a sip of water first. So there's lots of different ways to meditate. There's lots of different reasons. There's lots of different results that we want out of meditation. So the purpose of what we're going to be doing right now is really focused on, I want you to have this experience of yourself as energy. Because once we experience ourselves as energy, we suddenly realize we can somehow manipulate that energy in our lives. We are doing it all the time. And we can do it more powerfully when we're aware of what's going on. So my purpose right now is just for you to have this experience. You are energy, my friend. So I'm going to close my eyes and let's get started. So take a minute right now and turn your attention to your right thumb. And just for a second, notice anything you feel physically about your thumb. Is it cold? Is it hot? Do the joints in your thumb feel stiff? Or is there some kind of pain or tingling? Just notice the presence of your thumb. And now, can you imagine the volume of your thumb? What would it be like to be aware of the size and shape or volume that your thumb takes up, the space that your thumb occupies? Now, imagine what it would be like to become aware of the space around your thumb. Can you imagine all the atoms and molecules floating around in that space around your thumb? Oxygen, carbon dioxide, all the molecules that make up the air in that space around your thumb. Just picture all of those molecules bouncing around in that space around your thumb. And now imagine what it would be like to visualize or see in your mind's eye all the emptiness between those molecules that are bouncing around that space around your thumb. And the amazing thing is, we only actually see light. We only actually experience light when it hits a molecule. So in that space around your thumb, there's actually infinite blackness where there aren't any molecules. See if you can imagine that void or blackness in between the molecules, in that space, in that air around your right thumb. Now focus in on your thumb. What would it be like to imagine the molecules, the atoms that make up your skin on your right thumb? What would it be like to imagine the space between the nucleus of one of those atoms that makes up the surface of your skin and all the subatomic particles that are zipping around that nucleus? What would it be like to imagine the space inside that one atom that's part of your skin? And now can you imagine the space that's inside one atom of oxygen that's floating around near your skin? And remember, the space is so big, it's like that marble in the football field for the nucleus. And then the subatomic particles that are shooting around in orbit, they're as far away as the upper seats of that football stadium. There's that much space in that one atom of oxygen that's near your skin. And then see if you can use your imagination to visualize or sense how that space inside that atom of oxygen is contiguous with the space inside that atom of your skin. Can you see Those atoms are floating in space and they're filled with space. They're permeated with space. And now let your attention get a little bigger. What would it be like to experience all the skin on your right thumb as filled with space, floating in space, permeated by space? And that space being contiguous with the space surrounding the skin of your thumb. Now go a little deeper inside your thumb. Imagine the bones, the muscles, the blood vessels, all those cells. It's hard enough for us to visualize a cell, even when we see cells under microscopes. But take your imagination even deeper to the atoms that make up all of the cells of your right thumb. And imagine the space between the nucleus of each of those atoms and all the particles zipping around in orbit around each nucleus. What would it be like to imagine all of that space inside of your thumb as contiguous, as permeable, as part of the space surrounding your thumb? Your thumb is made up of clouds of particles held together by energy. Clouds of atoms. What would it be like to experience your thumb as a cloud of atoms, a cloud of energy, permeated by space? Energy flows through your thumb all the time. If you got an X-ray, energy would be flowing from space through your thumb and back into that space on the other side of your thumb. What would it be like to experience your thumb as a cloud of space, a cloud of energy, a cloud of atoms held together by energy? And now turn your attention to that energy. Can you imagine focusing again on one atom somewhere in your thumb? An atom that makes up part of a bone or a muscle cell, a blood cell. Can you imagine the energy that's holding together that one atom? Can you imagine the energy that's holding those subatomic particles in orbit around that nucleus? And at the same time, can you imagine the space in between those particles? And now we're going to begin to really expand the picture out. So can you become aware of your whole hand in the same way that you've been aware of your thumb as filled with space, permeated by space, floating in space? Now can you expand that out and experience your whole hand as energy and space? Take it a little bigger and become aware of the area around your whole hand. The area that's made up of space and energy. As you're doing this, be really aware of what your imagination wants to do. For me, as I start expanding each of these things out, I see each body part or the space around them as though they're negative space. They suddenly become all this emptiness and energy. It's as though I could see through my hand. The solidness is gone. So become aware of what your imagination wants to do. And hold that image in your mind of your hand as made up of space and energy. Bound is it's floating in space. It's filled with space. The energy, there's energy transfer all the time. Heat energy leaving your skin and affecting those molecules of air. Let the picture get a little bigger. Become aware of your arm as filled with space, floating in space, permeated by space. Become aware of your left hand as well, completely made up of energy and space. All those atoms of your left hand, all that emptiness. And bring your imagination up through your left arm, across your shoulders. See that, those parts of you filled with space, floating in emptiness, permeated by emptiness as a cloud of energy, cloud of feeling, cloud of atoms. What would it be like to experience your neck and your head as a cloud of atoms, a cloud of energy, permeated by space? And now, the rest of your body, your torso, down through your hips and your legs and your feet. What would it be like to experience your whole body as energy, a cloud of energy, permeated by space, filled with space, floating in space? And now can you imagine an area around you that's a foot or so out from your body? Imagine the energy and emptiness of the molecules of the chair you're sitting on or the floor, and the air around you. Now can you turn your attention to the room you're in, filled with space, filled with emptiness, a cloud of energy. Expand your awareness to include the building you're in, the energy, the emptiness. It's filled with emptiness and space. It's a cloud of atoms. It's a cloud of energy. And that energy is flowing between the atoms, connecting them. Let your awareness get even bigger and take in your neighborhood, the area where you live, where you are right now, your town, your city, the whole thing. Energy, space, emptiness. And as you do this, again, allow your imagination to do what it wants to do. For me, it's this weird thing of like things blinking into negative space, disappearing. Expand your attention even more, your awareness, to the region you live in. Energy, emptiness, permeated by space. And all of that space is contiguous with the space that permeates your body. Allow your attention to become even bigger and take in your country. Expand even further to take in the whole planet, filled with space, all the way through to that core, that molten core in the center, all that lava, space and energy, emptiness. And finally, allow yourself to see or imagine the space that we call outer space being contiguous with the space inside the core of our planet, the space between all of those atoms, the space of outer space beyond our atmosphere being contiguous with the space inside one tiny atom in the center of the planet. And just breathe here for a minute. Allow your imagination to hold that picture. See if your imagination can go from one atom of your body and the space inside it to outer space and what we call space there. I often see myself as though I'm like shot through with emptiness as I do this. And now, very gently, just begin to collect yourself. Begin to come back to your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes a little bit. Wiggle that right thumb we've been so focused on. Come back to my voice. Take a breath or two. And then just very gently open your eyes kind of halfway. And then begin to focus again. Open your eyes a little more. Look around the room. Come back to me. And here you are as this thing. I'm looking at myself on my video right now, on my screen, and I'm just kind of like, wow, I'm the same thing as outer space. Okay, yes, here's my right thumb. It feels solid to me now, but there's an awareness that the energy that's holding the universe together is flowing through this permeable thing that's this cloud of atoms that's my thumb. There it is. Okay. So that's all for today. And like I said, my purpose today was just to give you this experience of ourselves as pure energy. And then as I go on through these 2 weeks leading up to this webinar that I'm going to do, I'm going to start tying this together in what do we do with this? Why is this meditation so amazing for us creating our magical lives? So I just want to encourage you, try it again, watch the video again on another day, and see if you can have that actual experience of yourself as pure energy. So, if you haven't joined my free Facebook group yet, join the group. The link is in the post description there, and the conversation is great. I hope to see you there. Ciao for now.